Hey folks, we've been getting inundated with calls people are asking why and how Himes is implicated in a lot of different things. And you really don't need to look very far to find all the evidence you could possibly need. So here we go. Here's an article. Okay, no one's focusing on it. Let's take a look at it because it's a piece of a puzzle, a gigantic puzzle that needs to be unraveled. So let's get me off the screen. Let's talk about the airport authority may take over Bridgeport's Sikorsky Airport. Okay. Brian Lockhart has done a lot of interesting things. I don't think anybody gives him the credit that he deserves. Here we go. When Mayor Joe Ganim took office 6 years ago, they wanted to get out of the business of running municipal airports. Okay. Did you know Ned Lamont and the Connecticut Airport Authority revealed the latter is playing a big role at a facility in order to return commercial passenger service there? Well, read the article. Yeah, there are pluses. The possibility of providing advisory services, entering into a lease agreement and directly investing into the facility. That's what they just did in East Haven. Okay? Goldman Sachs owns the land. Jim Himes is a Goldman Sachs alum. David Lehman is a Goldman Sachs guy working for Lamont. Lamont's right-hand man is David Lehman. David Lehman was the CMO trader in the mortgage crisis that Jim Himes covered up in 2009. What's happening is Goldman Sachs owns the land. It leases it back to Connecticut, and Connecticut is paying Goldman Sachs bribes. $1.5 million was paid to Goldman Sachs through Jim Himes, Goldman Sachs alumni, through David Lehman, Goldman Sachs alumni, to Ned Lamont's administration, and here we go. The authority is created a decade ago to manage Bradley International, Windsor Lock, and 5 other state-owned airports. Well, good or bad, it's still a conflict of interest, and there's no disclosure. Danielson, Groton, New London, Hartford, Waterbury, and Wyndham. These are the transportation airline hubs. And here, Sikorsky, which typically runs at a $500,000 deficit, impacts Bridgeport annual budget. Well, guess what? Bridgeport gets like $16,000 per student back from the state per student. And Norwalk gets about, I think, 1,000. So what difference does it make? This robbing Peter, who would in this case be Norwalk, to pay Paul. Open the books. Show us what you're doing. Obviously, it's a Jim Himes connection. And like yesterday, we ran into a Jim Himes question. Yeah, if Fiona Hill was the NSA operative working for Denchenko, used by Comey, who was referred by Connecticut, was our FBI Hartford agent. He ran the FBI in Connecticut. Himes has oversight of the NSA. Himes has oversight of the FBI. Himes has oversight of FISA courts, which are being used to falsify warrants to go after Trump. Yeah, it's a problem because it's corruption. Here we go. You can look at the passenger deal of East Haven, the airport deal, and discover that it's illegal. And now you look at this. They want to take over Bridgeport Sikorsky Airport. Why? Because it's not properly run? Or it's just not economically feasible to run this type of airport in Connecticut? I say to you, it all comes back to Himes. All these deals. Look at Lamont's use of David Lehman. David Lehman was not prosecuted for the mortgage crisis in Connecticut. No, he was not prosecuted for Fannie Mae, for Freddie Mac. Though they went after Bear Stearns, which was bought by Merrill Lynch, they didn't go after Merrill Lynch. Lehman Brothers, all those companies were taken over and bought at pennies on the dollar. No, not even pennies. Like a penny. Bought for a penny. And Goldman Sachs does the treasury auction. Okay? Goldman Sachs was never prosecuted for the many small deals that were parceled out over time from Bernie Madoff. Deals that were too small to bring public from Goldman Sachs get farmed out, folks. And Morgenthau did an investigation in Manhattan of all those small New York Jewish broker-dealers and shut, I think, 250 of them. When it comes back to Jim Himes, Greenwich Global LP in Stamford, Connecticut, on Summer Street, had all its assets stolen by Bank America, who's Goldman Sachs's partner in crime when it comes to Connecticut. I'll tell you how. Jim Himes came from Goldman. Greenwich Global got robbed. They're investigating thousands of stolen checks in the Norwalk, Stamford, East Haven, New Canaan, Darien, Westport, and Wilton. Let's talk about Wilton. Wilton has a police chief refusing to investigate a brokerage firm at 26 River Road in Wilton, who took over Greenwich Global LP with no authority, with no written documents, took over all the bank accounts, and allowed them to operate a stolen NASDAQ business, okay, where David, the guy's name is Tim Daly. Tim Daly was barred from the securities industry twice for life. Jim Himes has been investigating him since 2009. None of the checks have been recovered. Okay? The FBI claimed to be looking at it. And then the FBI said, no, we can't follow this investigation anymore when Comey got involved, because the Stamford and Norwalk police departments had been investigating check fraud, securities fraud, wire fraud, accounting fraud, all types of RICO fraud. I think 34 different types of fraud occurred. Subordinated loan fraud. Bank accounts were loaned, okay, through Kelly, Dry, and Warren to Sound Financial Advisors of Connecticut. That's a registered investment advisor under Jim Himes's auspices, under the FINRA, under NASDAQ, under arbitration agreements through the banks who are Jim Himes's largest donor, Bank America. Kelly Dry is the law firm that cashed the stolen checks in the beginning. They were never Greenwich Global's attorney. So what happens? Judge Adams, who divvies out the cases in the Stamford Superior Court, is a partner at Kelly, Dry, and Warren, who took instruction from a guy named John Parent and Chris Parent, who are working with the Norwalk Police Department to rob people's accounts. It's as simple as that. So when you look back at this airport deal, when you look back at Bank America, Fleet Securities, Quicken Riley, U.S. Clearing, Computer Shares. Do you know who Computer Shares is? Okay. They brought NASDAQ public for Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff was chairman of NASDAQ. Computer Shares has stolen all the IPO shares of NASDAQ bought by Greenwich Global. Computer Shares was the registrar of the shares of the NASDAQ IPO, and James Comey sat on it. Richard Blumenthal sat on it. Who else? Every single state's attorney in Stamford, Norwalk, Hall, he sat on it. Who else? Colangelo. Colangelo took bribes, I believe, from it. How do I know this? He took a bribe on Stephen Barrier, the murder. Well, it's probably not his first, because every time you call him, I call them once a week now, I leave messages. They don't return your call. They need to put these guys in jail for the largest securities fraud in Connecticut history that Jim Himes is colluding to cover up. How do I know this? Because the hedge funds are involved in Connecticut. Case in point, look at Dalio and Grace Farms. Dalio bought Grace Farms in New Canaan, put an illegal property in there through Steve Kleppen, who came to Norwalk's planning and zoning. And what happens? Grace Farms is Dalio, Lamont's right-hand man in the hedge fund industry. Dalio hired Comey, paid him $14 million. Blumenthal took Comey from Dalio, hedge fund, Blackwater hedge fund, the largest hedge fund in the world, is in Connecticut. It's run by Ray Dalio, who hired Comey, who put Comey on in connection with Himes and Blumenthal. They put Comey in charge of the Hillary Clinton email investigation, okay, leading to connections with Ukraine from Fiona Hill, leading to connections to Danchenko, leading to connections that made Leitner bribe Blumenthal and bribe Senator Murphy from Ukraine as its lobbyist. Connecting Connecticut, even through this little airport deal, to the cabal. So, what's interesting, let me put something else on the screen that would probably blow your mind. Here we go. I'm just going to tell if you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, let's go to this Google page. Ready? Comment of Younkin about Connecticut. Ready? Here we go. Friends, Younkin in Virginia. Friends, we don't want to be Connecticut. This is by the Yankee Institute. Ready? During a rally of Election Day, Virginia Republican gubernatorial candidate Glenn Younkin told supporters in Richmond, "Friends, we don't want to be Connecticut." The former CEO of the Carlyle Group spoke to rally goers on November 1, saying he would eliminate Virginia's grocery tax, lower gasoline tax, issue tax refunds to state residents, and reduce business taxes and regulation. Okay? Virginia's entrepreneurs and job builders have to get started. What he's talking about is free markets. What he's talking about is not making the state of Connecticut buy airports. Do you understand? Not to allow Connecticut's. He's saying the socialists in Connecticut who want to buy all the airport deals. Here we go. Here's the startup entrepreneurship. This is Connecticut down here. This is Virginia. Do you understand? Connecticut wants to take over the private means of production. Socialism. He's saying Connecticut is a socialist state. And he's absolutely right. So what you need to follow is Younkin's statement, the new governor of Virginia, and say, excuse me, the government shouldn't be in the business of, let's say, insulin. The United States government owns the patent on insulin. It costs $5 to make insulin, and it's going up annually 100% annually. Why? Because it's government owned. So they want to help the people. By the way, this is Diabetes Awareness Month. November. November is Diabetes Awareness Month. If you look around Connecticut, you will see in Bridgeport all over the place. Exit 28, for example. I'm going to post pictures of that later. But if you want to sell your diabetic test strips, call this number. That sign is all over the place, okay? At the theater, down at the where the graduations are held, down by the courthouse in Bridgeport. People are selling their diabetic strips because they don't have enough money to A, buy drugs, buy food, or live. So here you go. That means they're not testing their insulin levels, and they're not taking their insulin properly, which will lead to retinal detachment or amputation of limbs, toes, feet, legs, because diabetes will kill you slowly, and it is torture. And losing neuropathy, all these different problems. I'm at 16 minutes. This is today's post. It's about Younkin's statement, okay? That Connecticut is a socialist haven. That the party, the Democratic Socialists of Connecticut, are very strong in New Haven, Waterbury, Danbury, and Bridgeport. Hartford is, if the Republicans don't take a stand, they're going to lose every vote in Hartford. And bribing Goldman Sachs to buy the land under the airports and leasing the properties back to them is a profitable business for Goldman Sachs, who are Lamont's right-hand man, David Lehman. I'm going to put his picture up here. But if you don't understand how you're giving control of the country to Goldman Sachs, where Himes worked, while he has FBI oversight, NSA oversight, FISA court oversight, he's on the Financial Services Division, while on the other hand, we have Murphy on the Foreign Relations Committee ruining the Houthis. The Houthis are taking over Yemen because of Senator Murphy. He met with Iran secretly about providing money. I want to just say hi to this person so you know who it is. Hey, I'm in the tail end of a video. Just say hello.
Hi, everyone.
That's Lori Hopkins Cavanaugh, an advocate for your civil rights, going through hell in court just like we are. We have a handful of 5 people now, pro se litigators, taking on lawsuits.
I'm pro se, sui juris. I don't.
Yeah. Excuse me. You're wrong. But anyway, I just want to say hello and thank you very much, Connecticut. It's I think it's post 553. Please follow, because I don't think Connecticut should be in the business of buying airports. Thank you very much.